Control is not a great name for a game, so I guess it continues that tradition of Remedy games. At this point, I have to assume they shoot their first impressions with potential buyers in the foot on purpose. What else am I supposed to think when they come up with names like Max Payne, Alan Wake, and Quantum Break? Their idea seems to be to take whatever the main character is going through and somehow twist that into their title. Max Payne was dealing with a lot of internal and external pain. Alan Wake was living in a dream reality of his own creation. And Jessie needs to take control over her life.
What if the building is a representation of the mind and you stepping into your true self? I'll break this down through the video, but stepping into yourself and listening to yourself is key to finding your true calling and or stepping into your power or to take control over what happened to her and her brother. Dartigan is on the right track. He's spitting.
I know I shut you out sometimes. I'm always glad to hear from you.
One of the more poorly executed ideas in Control is Jessie's dimensional helper Polaris. Throughout the game, Jessie will have conversations with her. Conversations is in air quotes for a reason, since Polaris never says anything. She's very much one of those metaphysical stand-ins for the player. You might recognize this idea from Deadly Premonition, where it is infinitely more entertaining due to the nature of the protagonist's conversations with his invisible friend. Whereas Jessie just sort of assumes Polaris wants her to do something, lays that out, then moves along while clinging to Polaris like an awkward friend with self-esteem issues.
Hear me out. Polaris is your inner thoughts we all have in our head, but Jessie has always listened to us since she came into contact with Polaris. Over time, her thoughts or Polaris led Jessie here to find the answer she always had deep down about where her brother was. She just had to believe in herself to get the information she needed deep down in her mind. Polaris is here to help Jessie find her brother because that is what Jessie desires most.
They're lying to us. We're lying to ourselves. The room's not the world. The world is much bigger.
The more you need to narrate in the opening of your story about how dark and mysterious the world actually is, the less I believe you unless you can pull off one hell of a Fox Mulder impression. You don't need all this telling when you have an entire game of showing ahead of you.
From our perspective, this is a great sentence. Who is lying to us? The people in the row who didn't believe in Jessie that this organization took her brother? Even tried to make her look and feel crazy, even though she was right. We're all lying to ourselves, thinking something like this is far-fetched. But is it? The room in your mind is not the world, but once you realize you have the power to take control, the thoughts in your mind becomes a lot bigger. She can see that there's a bigger picture everyone else is missing, but she doesn't know where the pieces go just yet. This is the journey she faces now.
I'm Ahti, the janitor, by the way. You'll work for me.
Ahti is one of the few characters you get to interact with in this game that isn't a copy-paste NPC or a live-action video you watch. I'm not sure if I like him as much as I like the idea of him, but the concept of a mysterious janitor who's actually some sort of god who's in charge of everything is something I like, because it sounds like one of those bizarre fan theories that appear to make a piece of fiction sound better than it actually was, like Jar Jar being a Sith Lord.
What if Ahti is a god and helping Jessie and Polaris stay calm while she's figuring out the bigger picture? Ahti is a heroic character of Finnish folk poetry, also known as the Islander. He is described as a fierce seagoing warrior. This could explain why Jessie is led into the building in the first place. He broke the seal from her mind to find the answers she desired deep inside her, and he's going to help without interfering too much. Just slow pushes to an end goal they both want in the end. The hissing of bad thoughts and energies controlling the people from the inside of the mind. We'll come back to this later, though.
Jessie is made the new director of the Federal Bureau of Control by merely being the one to discover the previous director's body and pick up his magic transforming gun, and then winning a forced game of Russian roulette with it. A gun that I suspect only exists and has such importance placed on it because it was a lot easier to create animations for a single handgun than multiple guns that would require two hands to use.
The gun is more symbolism of to become who you are. You must first choose life or death. This may seem like it was a gamble of life and death, but deep down in Jessie's thoughts, she knew she wanted to live to find out what happened to her brother at any cost. So the gun didn't go off because it recognized her desires to make her mind and this place we live in a better place for everyone in the building and the world. This was just the tip of the iceberg, I say. The old director died because he saw the horrible things coming, and instead of stopping it, he let the bad thoughts into his mind, aka the hissing. So instead of life, he chose death because deep down he felt like it was nothing to do to change the outcome, perspective of each character working as a whole to stop the independent threat. Jessie as the new director is a sign of hope and prosperity, while the old director abandoned that mission entirely. When the darkness dies, the light steps in, aka Jessie, one with good thoughts and never afraid of the dark things that awaits her. Polaris, her true self, will always protect her through the dark while she pursues the light in herself. She just has to believe in herself and Polaris to guide her to the outcome she wants, which is finding her brother.
It's not a Remedy game unless Sam Lake stops the flow of the story to pretend he's making a TV show. At least he went back to just doing short clips that are interspersed throughout the game and not full-length TV episodes.
Sam Lake, the person who makes the Remedy games, always stops the flow because he's trying to tell us something that has a deeper meaning. Example, the gun Jesse has is one of a kind. It only lets people who have the power to change what's going on or push it to more destructive methods. It connects with Jesse because Jesse and her true self, aka Polaris, are one. Think of a coin, two different sides of the same whole coin. So the building or your mind would only give you information at a slow rate so your mind and spirit won't be overloaded with everything at once. Everything is happening at a pace that Jessie will understand and will continuously look for answers on her own without disturbing the people around her.
I guess it's fitting that Control and Alan Wake take place in the same universe, because the Hiss and the Taken are kissing cousins. A bunch of ordinary people taken over by evil miasma, or a SoundCloud file in the Hiss's case, that conveniently have enough intellect left over to wield human weapons. When you go to all the trouble of creating a government agency responsible for locking up things man was never meant to know about, I kind of expect the enemy list to be longer than guys who shoot at you with guns.
What if the SoundCloud file is the hiss in their mind being controlled by something tapping into their mind and whispering to them to fulfill their darkest desires while protecting the device that emits the signal? Of course they don't have powers. They are regular human beings being controlled by an artifice to protect the main program from total annihilation or destruction. So of course they're using guns. That's the only way humans know how to kill or destroy something. The hiss is a true weapon of mass destruction, or should I say the bad or negative thoughts in your mind would ultimately be your downfall in the long run. So think positive, and your Polaris, aka your mind, will guide you to the answers you truly seek. Slowly but eventually you will find everything you are looking for. That's also why the building is filled with 90% of his control people. It lets us know that it might be horrible people out there, but you must stay true to yourself to find the people who would help you down the road.
Must cleanse control points. An enemy. Corrupt. Spreading.
The former director, Trench, who shot himself shortly after Jesse arrived, often speaks to Jesse, giving advice in broken sentences. However, by the end of the game, Jesse discovers that he is the one who let the Hiss invade the Bureau, so his ghost shouldn't be sharing information, and telling Jesse to cleanse control points of Hiss would be something he has no history of doing, so even the random memory excuse the game tries to fly later doesn't add up, since Trench would never have cleared control points of Hiss during his career.
If this is the inner workings of her mind, time would exist but not in a linear fashion. She's able to hear him but not really understand what he's saying until Jesse, the protagonist, was ready to hear the truth. Imagine if she knew Trench let it out. Would she still pick up the gun? Would she still go through the trials and tribulations on finding her brother? Would she trust the people helping her with her own mission to find her brother? If she knew the head of the facility was corrupt, she would think the people helping was too. So in doubt and trust in the people who are stuck in this mess with her. They need help just as much as Jesse needs help. They are all on the same path, just different outlooks on the situation. The people inside want to stop the Hiss to protect the world, and Jesse wants to stop the Hiss, aka the negative thoughts, to save her brother. Same goal, just different perspectives. So instead of doubting each other, they work in harmony to defeat the Hiss. But Jesse is the only one with the power to stop it, because this is/was her true nature, aka her deepest desire. So now every time she cleanses the astral plane, everything goes back to normal in this dimension, because the Hiss's program is tapping into a different dimension altogether and brainwashing people to their deepest, darkest desires to protect itself in its SoundCloud files. Now with that being said, Trench is actually dead, but how the dimensional rifts work in her mind before cleansing is she taps into his thoughts because of the gun they both shared. So time both in the past and the future are colliding in her mind, letting her know what to do without knowing how she did it. It's like the movie Arrival. If you haven't seen the movie Arrival, go check it out, and then you'll understand to a certain degree what I'm talking about.
Jesse Faden. I'm just visiting.
I should have lied.
Oh shit! You're the new director.
I'm not sure when the surviving employees got the memo that Jesse was a new director, since that only happened a few minutes ago, and anyone left alive is locked inside safe rooms. And I don't think the board inside their pyramid in another dimension can communicate with anyone other than the director.
Jesse feels like she should have lied because she's still not believing she's the only one who can stop his situation. She was just visiting the Bureau, aka her mind, to truly figure out who she is and to stop the Hiss from taking over like they almost did when her and her brother was kids and stopped it. Only this time it's different. She's not alone anymore. That is the hardest thing for her to understand, because everyone made her feel crazy, so the only person she talked to was herself, aka Polaris. So when she cleansed the pyramid from the astral plane from a different dimension, maybe they assumed she was the new director, because who else could close the rift right outside the safe room? The Hiss couldn't get out because of Ati, the Sea Warrior, didn't let them out, but he did let in the light, aka Jesse.
Time away. Do you have time today for me? Come on, babe, on delay. You can go doing what Simon say, but I hold it down, girl, I hold your place.